Since the digital age, innovators created timepieces that were in equal parts groundbreaking and equal parts crazy. There's the Seiko TV watch of 1982. While outlandish, it proved useful for James Bond. Microsoft in 1994 gave us the Timex Datalink, the first watch capable of downloading data from a computer wirelessly. This had real-world impact, employed by astronauts on space missions. The year 1999 saw Samsung debut its first calling-enabled smartwatch with 90 minutes of talk time. And in 2003, Microsoft debuted another game-changing device.
If you come into the early 2000s, you have the Microsoft Spot. If you look at their spec sheets and their feature sheets, they're very similar to the promises of some basic smartwatches today. This is in 2003.
But wind the clock back 5 centuries ago. The first time-based wearable had just one function, and it wasn't on the wrist. It was the first pocket watch that was invented in 1510. In 1868, Antoine Norbert de Patek, world-renowned watchmaker and creator of today's Patek Philippe, made the world's first wristwatch. What people might not realize is that this watch was made for Hungarian Countess Kaunitz. Yes, it was women that wristwatches were first marketed to and made for. Couple of decades later, the Europeans migrated the act of telling time to our wrists, worn only by women, more for pleasure rather than punctuality. It was World War I that brought watches into the age of the wrist. Far more practical than pocket watches when in the battlefield. 6 decades later, watches would go through another revolution, and that begins in 70s Japan, who disrupted the analog timekeeping scene with their then radical new development, quartz.
Watches could run off batteries, and that made them cheaper and more accessible. So these sort of Swiss watchmakers really were put into the shadows by Japanese brands. Quartz put watches on the wrists of people who couldn't afford or wouldn't have wanted to wear watches before.
When it comes to what we wear on our wrists today, we need it to tell more than just time. We require of our wrist devices to track everything from schedules, calories, sleep, and even our bad golf scores.
These devices, they told us things about ourselves that we just didn't know. I think there was a curiosity about ourselves that Wearables were just really well placed to pick up on and reveal.
The last 2 decades has seen the meteoric rise of wearables. It's a market that is worth $116.2 billion today, dominated by the likes of tech titans like Apple, Fitbit, Garmin, Huawei, and Samsung, all of them in a race to give us greater insights into our life, health, and mental well-being.
The holy grail of wearables is a device you shouldn't ever leave the house without. The fact that you would really be stupid to be without one, that is now on the horizon, and that's what I'm most excited about wearables.